Hello, this is Cho of the Shiny Colors Discord. Welcome to another episode of the Shiny Review. Today, we've got a couple new cards to talk about. We have a new Produce SSR for Fuyuko, as well as a new Support SSR for Toru. We also have a small little bit to talk about with the new Grade Pass support, but we'll get to that when we get to that. For now, we just have these two. Fuyuko is a permanent SSR, meaning you'll be able to pull her once her banner is over. Toru, on the other hand, is a limited support, but the banner runs for a pretty decent amount of time, so you still have a good chance to get the card. Starting things off then, of course, we have Fuyuko, who starts out as a visual unit and upgrades into a vocal unit. Fuyuko's initial appeal is a visual 3.5 that fortifies your visual buffs, meaning it's doubled up. This also grants a vocal visual 30% buff for 10 turns, followed by a visual 5% buff for 5 turns. This links into a vocal visual 50% buff for 4 turns. The 3-star vocal appeal is a vocal 4.5 that doubles your vocal buffs, grants a vocal visual 60% buff for 10 turns, and a vocal 10% buff for 5 turns, and links into a vocal visual 50% buff for 4 turns. As for her passives, her 1-star passive is a vocal visual 50% up if it's turned 2 or earlier, and has a 20% chance to activate once. Her 2-star passive is a vocal visual 85% up if you have Fuyuko on your team, and it has a 20% chance to activate twice. Lastly, her 4-star passive is a vocal 85% up that requires the full Stray Light lineup and has a 20% chance to activate twice. Her total stat uncaps when maxed out is a plus 200 to visual and plus 300 to vocal. Her memory appeal when maxed out is a vocal 50% buff for 5 turns that links into a vocal 4.0 that doubles your vocal buffs, aka that vocal fortify. Fuyuko is fine. She's a pure buffing machine once her 3-star appeal is unlocked, granting a 10-turn vocal visual buff to enable the classic Stray Light playstyle. The fact that the buff is as strong as it is on a 10-turn duration is really funny when looking at a lot of the older cards that clearly wanted to be that but didn't have the power behind it. Her passives, though, are nothing too insane, but have their place due to how easy they are to use. The fact that one requires Fuyuko on your team just means that you run the character and you use the passive. The second is using her on the team she's intended to be used on. Her memory appeal is kind of rough, with not really an opportunity to use a double memory appeal right now, especially when the buff itself is not super huge, and I guess the idea, of course, is to utilize her 10-turn buffs, fortify them, and then wrap back around to do the memory appeal again. Problem is, Fast doesn't last long enough for her to do that reliably, so the Fortify effect doesn't really feel all that necessary. She's not really going to replace Fuyuko 8 in the vocal team anytime soon, but I do think that she's an interesting piece to Stray Light, and a kind of fun option on the permanent side of things if you're just trying to build around the original conceit of Stray Light. As a unit, I would give her a B- to a B, I think she's basically right in the middle, and as a center, I think it's a C-. The problem is that the buff itself is not super strong, and while you fortified the vocal buff immediately after with the link appeal, where are you using it if that's your finisher? If it had been, I don't know, the vocal buff initially, and then fortify, and then somehow proc the buff again on link, then maybe there's something to have been done there, but that isn't really how it works out. So yeah, overall as a center, not super great. As a unit, she's fine. So next then, we have the Toru, which is kinda hard to pull up the information for, actually, so I guess I'll just go ahead and cover it from what I have here. So, Toru is a pure dance support. Her masteries include Dance Mastery Dance, which reaches plus 15 at level 75, otherwise plus 12 at level 65, plus 9 at level 50. She has Tension Mastery Dance limit up, which means that once your tension has reached the max, this can activate on whatever room she's in. It's plus 4 at level 80, plus 3 at level 70, plus 2 at level 60. She has Dance Stay Mastery, increasing the likelihood of her being in the dance room. It's plus 5 at level 80, plus 2 at level 5. And Dance Mastery Stamina, recovering stamina in the dance room if she's in there, plus 5 at level 80, plus 3 at level 65. I would say, unless you absolutely care about her best mastery strength, you can get away with having 2 copies of Toru. 1-star is perfectly fine because it gives you access to everything that she wants, even if it is not at its most powerful. Otherwise, you kind of have to commit to level 80, in other words 4-star, in order to get the most out of everything. For her appeals, she does have 2 of them. Her initial appeal is a Dance 2.5 that doubles your dance buff, so Dance Fortify, and grants a Dance 20% buff for 4 turns. The upgraded version of the appeal is a Dance 3.5 that does the same thing, a Dance Fortify, but a Dance 60% buff for 4 turns. She has 3 passives total. The first, at 1 star, is a Dance 50% up if it's turn 3 or earlier and has a 20% chance to activate 3 times. Her 2-star passive is a Dance 85% up and Memory Gauge 5% up if there are 2 or less units on your team. It has a 30% chance to activate twice. So that would mean that if you're running the full Noctua lineup, you can just run 1 other character and you will get access to that 2-star passive. If you throw Toru onto a 3-member team and the secondary member is not Noctua, then you would not have access to that 85% buff. You would have to do, like, say, Illumine plus 2 Noctua to still maintain that 85% passive activation. Her 4-star passive is a Dance 100% up if you're in the center position and has a 20% chance to activate once. Her total stat uncap is plus 250 to Dance. Toru is okay, but nothing too crazy. She doesn't really help out Dance Noctua and feels like a stray light support more than anything else. Her masteries are really focused in the dance room, but the problem is that Dance Up is actually not super good anymore. And while the Dance Uncap is certainly nice, that's appreciated, plus 4 is a little slow, especially given that there are many units that have the unit mastery version of this, which can scale up a lot faster. The Stay Mastery is fine, and the Stamina Mastery is fine, but there are certainly better cards to work with in that regard. So I would give this card probably a B. She's right in the middle. I would not say that she is a bad support, but I would also not say that she's a crazy support. I think if you are looking for something for Dance Noctua, this is not really the card that's going to do anything for you, but it is a nice card for those that are a big fan of Miss Toru. Now, before we wrap up today, we also get to talk about the new Gradefest Chiyoko. She's a vocal support with not really super amazing passives. As you can see, you have things like 20% if you're in the vocal position, a 30% up, a vocal 65% up if you have a buff effect on, which is what her upgraded appeal does for you, and a 45% up. Like, they're not really all that strong. Her stat uncaps are also pretty bad at plus 100 to vocal. The main reason why you care about this Choco is the fact that she has know-how discovery mastery. That's what this one is down here, level 4 at max. This means that while she's on your support lineup, if you are producing in anything other than step, she will increase the likelihood of skills that you can learn in step to drop from the know-how books after finishing the run. So if you are somebody that is trying to build up know-how, getting a card like this is really important. Do take that in mind if you are participating in Gradefest right now to pick up coins to get the support while you can. She is going to be here for a bit, but she's not here forever, which is very important. Figured I would get that PSA in there here at the end. So, that will do it for the video today. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Next time, we'll be talking about the Oshinoko collaboration banners, which have not started yet, technically. They're doing a rerun of Ruby and Kana right now from last year, which we already did a video of them before. So if you want to get refreshed on them, I'd recommend checking those out. Both of them haven't done super well in the Gradefest format, but Kana in particular has done really well in Collabofest. So maybe if you're somebody that wants to do better in Collabofest, you might want to pick up old Kana before we see what the new cards end up doing. I've been Cho. Thank you so much as always for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day.